Yes, you're welcome to this class. We are going to look at some more practicals as we did last week. So what we're going to look at is developing some applications using file systems. That means you're going to understand how to manipulate some text and be able to change a few things and then load files from the computer and develop beautiful user interfaces that can be able to be appealing to the user. So it is literally an addition on what we did last week. And of course, I have an assignment for you. I've already put it on Moodle. You'll be answering that. And also, I'm going to be uploading these videos shortly. So I'm not going to take many minutes because it's going to be just an addition, just looking at how do we be able to create a file and then be able to browse and then play. So I have already an application I've already designed. I'm just going to run through it, and then I will take you through from scratch how I came up with it, and then be able to help you also appreciate the principles that we are learning in this week. All right, so I'm going to just run this application for you to be able to see. The application I've developed is just to get data from Excel sheet. So that means I've saved this file in Excel, but we can be able to create Excel sheets using MATLAB, and then can be able to call those files in a graphical user interface and then be able to do some things. So this is supposed to be able to plot X against Y. That means I have X and then X is squared. So sorry, y is squared. So x equals to y times y. So this is the interface that I have. So when I have it here and then I do load, it should be able to load for me the data and then does a plot. Okay, but we have already looked at how we do plots in MATLAB, and you can be able to do your own plots as we saw since we started the course. So at this time, I don't think that somebody does not understand what we are doing. So it is very important. So this is the form that we have developed, and when I load the data, it will load this Excel data or this data from Excel, which has two values, X and Y. So we have X data and Y data. So I have values from 1 to 25, and then I get their squares. Okay, so just plotting this. So you can be able to load data. This function that loads data is actually getting it from my computer. That means you can be able to look at how you load data and be able to upload. So you can design applications very well and do a lot of things that you want. I will be looking at also signal analysis. We'll be able to do comparison of frequencies against some time, and then be able to do some computations there. So this is the example. So I'm going to take you through the code. I will just close this, and I will be able to come to the code view. Remember that we have a MATLAB interface open here, and then we can be able to open the design view, and then we have the code view. So the design view enables us to look at our details, and we said most times you can be able to change the details of the application on the things we looked at last week. So I'm not going to go through all that stuff now, but there's some important things that I would want you to look at our component browser here. I have the load data button, which is actually when I click on this, it triggers a function that loads data from my computer, and then it puts it in the UI table. UI table accepts data from Excel format, but there are different formats that you can be able to save data in, and I desire that you read through or read about them and understand how each works. But this demonstration demonstrates using Excel data. So you're loading data from Excel sheet and you're getting it to your computer. But also you learn about how to create data into Excel. MATLAB can be able to help you do that. So we load our data into this UI table, which is this here, which has two columns, and it's where my data is going to be loaded. And of course, the UI access is to enable us have the plot be done. But you can design more complex applications. Remember, this is just a demonstration. Just need to go back and then just sit down, do your revision, and understand how all these functionalities work. Okay, we said that we need to understand aspect of coding. When I go to the code, we have the area. I talked about the properties. These are public. Okay, we explained this last week. For those that will miss the class, this MATLAB has two principles it works with. There's a structured programming. That means it interprets line by line as you write your scripts, but also it supports object-oriented programming. And I said in our previous class that if I took an example of the civil engineering class that we are in, that is a blueprint. It would be like I would say a house plan where you want to build a house. So one house plan can give you more than one house. That means the actual objects from this house plan would be very many. So the house plan becomes our template, which we are calling the class. So the class can create different instances of itself. And each of those instances in the class is what we call objects. And I said objects store values that more than one. For instance, I took your class to be an example of a template that we're working on, then that class has each one of you as objects. Each one of you represents details. So you have a first name, you have a last name, you have a course you're doing, you have a district you come from. All this data is about you, one person, which is not possible to store such data um, in a variable. We said a variable can only store one value at a time, but an object can store more than one value at a time. That means we can get details about an object and store them in one kind of what we would have called advanced variable, but we call them objects. And objects help us to create instances of a class. So that I explained last week. I just wanted to give an overview of what we talked about last week, and for those that missed out, just not to get bleak on what we are doing. So I would say that we have our function. Remember that we said on if you have designed your application well, we have the load button. We want to, whenever we click on this load button, um, this load data button, we are able to get this table populated with data, and then this graph is plotted for us. So we said that you right click on the button and then you come and select callbacks. So you come to callbacks and select um, here it will be add load data button pushed function, but I have already created this. That's why it's asking me to go to this function. So I will just select that, and it will take me to this place here where we are storing our information. So I just created an Excel sheet on my computer. So I called it book1.xls and comma, it's a sheet. But remember, we want to read data from that. So we use a function called read table. Read table function will help us to read data from an Excel sheet. Okay, so you can be able to use this function here, and I'm storing the value that I'm reading from this function in the variable called t, and then I'm going to capture that variable and store the value to our UI table. So I just say app.uitable.data, and then I assign this value here. So once I assign the value here, I need to get the properties. Remember that this is an object, T is an object, is storing more than one value. If you look at our table here, um, we have a lot of values that are in this table. So that's what we're saying, that we want to create those values stored in there. That's why we're picking properties of that value, and I'm saying t.properties.variable name. I want the first variable, which is x data, okay, and then I have another variable which I'm storing in as y data. So I have t.properties.variable name, one, that's first variable. I'm going to assign it a value of x data, and then I have t dot properties dot variable name 2, that is given a value of y data. Then after me populating my UI table and giving it values now, I'm going to be able to call each column at a time. So remember, we are accessing columns from our Excel sheet. Remember, we are working from data on the Excel, which is stored on your computer where your files are being stored. And if I just to take you through where my Excel file is, if I went to where I store my files on my local computer here, I just come here and I'll say the file is here. It's called book1.xlsx, but you can save it maybe xls, but this is xlsx. That's the format for Office that is above 2007. Okay, so if I open this file here, I just want you to see what I'd put in here. And I said that you can be able to generate this by writing scripts, and I will do another video for that to just help you appreciate the beauty of using UI. So I have X column and Y column, and the X column has values from 1 to 25, and then the Y column is having the square of X. So those are what we want to plot. So these are values that I want to pick. So I want to pick column 1, which is X, and the column B, which is Y. Okay, so when we go back to our, our code, that's what I'm trying to say here. That's what I'm trying to say here. So you have app.uitable.column name. So we want to pick the column. And whenever I pick the column, you need to give it values. These values are stored in the variable names, where we have variable names as variable name 1 and variable name 2. But these are all properties of the T object that we created. We created that T object using the function called read table. And then this function read table is storing those values in uh, the T object, and then we are calling those values and storing them into the UI table here. So I would want, once I've gotten these columns or variable names, which is X and Y, I would want to have the X table array. So there's a function called table to array. We are going to change the values now from being in a table form to an array form. And we want the values to be populated here, but they should be under the X data. And then we have Y having the value created by the table to array function, where we're getting the values of our object T and then populated as the Y data. So after doing that, we are able to be able to plot. So we're going to plot our value here. We are going to say plot. We are plotting on the UI axis. So let's say app.ui axis, comma x, comma and y, and then we set our markers. I use the pentagram, but you can use other markers, maybe like a star, like a rectangle, whatever marker that you want to use. And of course, many other things that we have looked at since the semester started. And I suppose by now we're in week 10 or week 11, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that from week 1 up to now, you understand what we have been building over now. So after me writing that, then the next thing I would want is to be able to run my program and see what is my result. Okay, so I will take it back to the design, and I will run my file again. Yeah, this will be my interface, and I would want, whenever I click load data, it should be able to give me the data populated in column 1 and column 2, and be able to to create for me a plot here. Okay, so I'll do that right away. I click on load data, it will load data, and boom, to be able to give us our chart as seen there. So this is to help you to understand more working with files, but I said in the next short video also, I'm going to be recording shortly, I will be explaining more how to create files and to read files using MATLAB. Okay, see you in the next lecture.